Hello everyone, this is Renata. Should I move from New York to the mountains to avoid the targeting? That is a question that a listener left in the comment section of one of my videos. At the time the listener left the comment, I responded to him or her, and I'm not sure if it was a male or a female. I'm going to say her for the sake of this video. I responded to her that I would make a video on this topic because I've been asked this before, and I've heard this topic come up in the TI community many times. And I've also heard some people's experiences when they have moved from their current location to a different location. So I said I would make a video. Now, I have to apologize right off the bat because I went back to look at the person's question again, but I couldn't find it. And I have quite a few videos out there now, so I can't remember exactly which video that comment was left on. So I do apologize. I hope the person is able to hear this video because I'm going to give my take on that situation. Okay, so again, the question is, should I move from New York to the mountains to avoid the targeting? Here's my feelings on that. Without me knowing much about the person, I do know that the person lives in New York because that's what she said on in the comment section of the video. And she's talking about moving to the mountains. Okay, so without me knowing very much about the person, I don't know the type of targeting she gets. I don't know if she gets directed energy weapons. I don't know if she gets stalking. I don't know if she gets workplace mobbing. I'm not sure. I don't have details. Okay, so we're just going to talk in general. From what I've heard about the mountains is that people get relief when they go to the mountains. And that's why I'm thinking this person just might get directed energy, but maybe she gets both. I'm not sure. But I do know of a couple of people, targeted individuals, who get severe directed energy weapons. So they get the sleep deprivation, they get burns on their bodies, they get pain, and things like that. I even know one who lived in her car in the mountains because she felt that she got a lot more relief when she went up high. I haven't talked to her in years, so I'm not sure, how the targeting is going now. But at that time, she preferred living in the mountainous areas, okay, because she felt like she got a lot more relief there. She also was heavily stalked. She did say that she was still stalked when she went to the mountains. But overall, she preferred living in the mountains just because she got a lot more relief from the directed energy. Okay? But in general, for the sake of anyone else thinking about moving, maybe not to the mountains, but just moving in general because their targeting is heavy, I will say that moving is very costly. It can be very expensive to come up with the first month rent if we're talking about apartments. First month rent, last month rent, security deposit. That can be very costly. If you're talking about renting a room from someone, perhaps someone you know, or a room in someone's home, or they're sharing their apartment with you, or whatever. I do know people who have paid first and last month to live in a room. If you're talking about renting a motel room or a hotel room, that can be very expensive because most of those are daily. I do know that they have weekly rates and they even have monthly rates in some motels. Okay, either way, it can be expensive because if you're renting a room and you don't have access to a kitchen, then that means buying food out every day, 2 or 3 times a day, which can be costly as well. If you're talking about renting a house or even buying a house, you probably would have to buy your own refrigerator and stove, or sometimes they leave the stove. It just depends, okay? But the first, last, and security again. So it can be expensive. Now, there are people who I know who have moved to West Virginia because there is a community in West Virginia that where all of these people who live in this particular community in West Virginia, it's a very small community, they say that they are electricity sensitive, and that may not be the proper word for it, but they are allergic to electricity. So these people say when they're around electricity, they get severe headaches, their skin, they break out in skin rashes, they can't think straight, and they just they feel that they cannot live around electricity. From what I read, they do not necessarily consider themselves targeted individuals. They don't use that term. They just consider themselves hypersensitive to electricity. So apparently, some targeted individuals heard about this community, and we'll say this, I first heard about this maybe 5 years ago or so. TIs were moving, several, not a lot, but some TIs were starting to move up that way. The people in the community did not appreciate that because the targeting for the targeted individuals continued up there, and they just didn't want to deal with that, okay? These people who live up there, they live very 1800 style or 1900 style or whatever you call it, because they live off the land. And I know there are other communities that do that as well, but they live off the land. They milk the cows. They grow everything they eat. They do not use cell phones. They do not use electricity. So that would, for me, would be a very hard way to live. But, you know, some people could adjust to that. I'm not sure. There are other people who have moved to Richmond, California, because Richmond, California, the local government there, meaning the city officials, have supported the TI community. They have put resolutions in place that said that directed energy weapons are not allowed there, which is beautiful. I actually attended several of those meetings, so that's a beautiful thing. So I do know several TIs who have moved to Richmond for those purposes because they felt that their targeting would lessen. The people that I know, their targeting continues to this day. So the thing about that is, because bills are in place or resolutions are in place or laws are in place, doesn't necessarily mean that that crime doesn't happen. And we know that because stalking is a crime, but we still get stalked. Okay, so it could be on the books, but if it's not enforced, then you're still going to have the problem. Okay, and they had the city officials who put these bills in place had great intentions. Wonderful, wonderful people. I met them. They're wonderful people. But we know that these rogue elements are out of control. Okay, so they still target people in Richmond. I do know that one of the TIs who moved to Richmond, she said that her the electronic harassment is about the same as it was in her other location, which was a different state. But she said the stalking has somewhat lessened while she's in the city of Richmond. But she says when she comes out of that city, it's pretty bad. And I don't know if the people listening to this video know anything about Richmond, but I live minutes away. It's kind of small. It's a small city, but they do have a lot of support from their local government. So that's just that's beautiful. I wish other cities would do the same. But it's a small city, so you're almost certainly going to come out of the city, just to get your normal routine things that you need to get done. You're going to more than likely come out of that city. And she says for her, that's when she really gets the pretty heavy stalking, because the stalking is pretty heavy here in California in general, whether the targeting altogether. So the only people that I know who have gotten a substantial amount of relief from moving has been two different people that I know that live in country settings, more south. And they have acres. Both of them have acres. One has acres with a trailer, mobile home trailer kind of situation. And the trailer was purchased separately and the acres were purchased separately, and then the trailer was put on the acreage. And this whole community is acres of trailers, okay? Very nice trailers. So your neighbors are not, as close. However, according to her, she gets the air stalking. She does not get it a lot, because that would be way too obvious to do that all day. But she does get that. She gets the neighbor, one of the neighbors, does the, stalker tactics. When she leaves, the neighbors synchronize. They come from different areas of the road, because apparently this is a private road that leads to that community. But, they still do the same tactics they would if she were not in that community. If she takes the bus driver appears to be involved. People on the bus do different tactics, stalking tactics. When she goes into the community to go to the grocery store or other types of shopping in the community, she deals with the stalkers. With that being said, before she moved there, she lived in an apartment complex, and she said that her stalking was very severe. So compared to the two, she gets great relief the way she is now. She deals with it, but not as much. Not as much because of her environment and the way everyone is spaced out from each other. The next home is, a little distance. So she gets a lot of relief. When she's at home, she doesn't deal with, the noise campaigns and all that unless the helicopters are flying. So overall, she says her situation is better. Much better. The other person I know that has acreage, and she has quite a bit, I think like 10 to 15 acres. She experiences the same thing. Most of her harassment and stalking is when she goes to the store, into the community to take care of her, whatever she needs to do for her household to run. That's when she deals with it as well. She gets other things like vandalism. People will throw things over her gate. They harm her animals. That happens a lot. And she doesn't have a farm, but she has animals. So they harm her animals. They find ways to make noise. But overall, she likes her living situation much better compared to the way it was before in an apartment. Okay, so those are the two situations I know that were somewhat of a success, if you can call that a success. I would say if you do decide to move, don't make a quick decision. Weigh your options, do thorough research. For me, when I moved to where I am currently, which has been many years before I knew I was targeted, I might add that, I called the police department because I wanted to know the history of the area I was moving to. So I called. I don't even think I gave my name, but I just said, I'm thinking of moving to this address, and I'd like to know if you could tell me how that area is. They put me on hold. They came back. I guess they checked with one of the officers from this beat, and they came back and they told me that the area had a history of being a good area, low crime rate. Crime happens everywhere. We know that, but the crime rate was not alarming. There was basically, mainly senior citizens, retired people who had raised their children here, and the children are grown and gone now. And so that was good for me. Now, another thing that I did besides calling the police department is I drove through the area at night, because if it's a seedy area and if it's crime ridden, all the riffraff comes out at night. You may see some during the day as well, but at night, if there's riffraff, you're going to see it at night. And so several days we drove through at night, okay? And I drove a large perimeter around where I wanted to live. So I would strongly suggest that anyone looking to move do that. That's just a real good practice to do. And I think I mentioned the senior citizens. It's a good idea to look for an area that has more senior citizens, because senior citizens or retired people in general tend to look out for the area. Now, I know it's a different situation when we're targeted. They probably won't look out for us. But still, that's just a good thing to do. Also, try to find a place that doesn't share many walls with your neighbors. In other words, if you live in an apartment, you will probably, and you're targeted and you get the harassment and the stalking and things, you probably will deal with more of the noise campaigns. If you have someone living upstairs from you, or, to your right and your left, you'll probably deal with more of the noise campaigns. And you might even deal with more of the directed energy weapons, if you're sharing walls. So if you can get maybe a duplex, which only a neighbor, those cost more.
They might, I'm not sure. Or an in-law apartment where there's an apartment in the back of a house or something, and maybe people rent those out. Just kind of take your time to look for something that's going to be more suitable for a targeted individual, I'll say, because there's a lot that happens in apartment complexes for most TIs, not all. I do know some TIs who really don't have a lot of problems with the neighbors. So prayerfully, you'll get in an environment where you don't have to deal with a lot of the harassment and stalking. Again, I'm not sure exactly what this person deals with. Also, I would say when you're looking for a place to live, ask around the TI community to see what suggestions other TIs may have, because maybe they know of a place that's renting in their area, or I know that more TIs are trying to live in a more commune kind of area where they're trying to kind of group together and live around each other, and renting rooms and apartments to each other. So that might be an option for you. I don't know, but I would say if that is an option, ask around the community for people that you trust. Ask them if they know that person before you move in with them or around them, because the TI community is small, so a lot of people know each other. Okay, so you don't want to just move in with anyone who says they're a TI. I would suggest asking around to see if anyone knows the person. But it would be nice for TIs to live around each other. just to be able to help each other out, to help one another out. I know that there are people who get their homes entered every time they leave, or people who are afraid to go out in public. So if TIs began to live around each other, that could possibly combat that problem. Maybe someone could look out for you every time you left your apartment or your house. Or someone could go to the store with you. Or someone could watch your child. I don't know if this person has children, but I know a lot of TIs do. Just to kind of help each other out. That would be a beautiful thing. One important thing before I forget, always make sure you live in a very safe apartment, house, room, trailer, wherever. Make sure your locks are good, sturdy locks. If you're not satisfied with the locks at your apartment, ask your landlord if it's okay if you change them to something that you feel comfortable with. Also, there are I'm going to call them strong arm devices. I don't know really what the official name is, but like door jammers, that you can put on your front door, but always make sure that you can take those off easily if you had to get out. But just make sure you're safe. Bars on the window if you feel like you need them. But if you do have bars, make sure you get the safety bars that push out. They only push out from the inside. The person on the outside can't pull them out, but you can push them out in case you had to get out of there in an emergency situation. Hopefully you never would, but still you want to make sure that you're not trapped if you need to get out. So make sure your environment is safe no matter where you live. Okay. Don't be one of those TIs that move around a lot, because I don't think people realize that keeping a targeted person broke and destitute, if possible, is the goal. It's one of the goals. To keep your foundation unsteady in every way. And financially is included with that, okay? So you don't want to spend all this unnecessary money if you don't need to. Because even if you have to get storage, that costs every month. So just be mindful of that they really want to keep you moving. I know TIs that move 5 times a year, every year. And that's part of the targeting, to just keep you running sometimes. Now, again, I don't know this person, so I'm not talking to this person, but I'm just saying in general, that's part of the targeting for many TIs. The picture that you see in the front of this video is a house on the side of a cliff. I don't know if you can tell that's a house, but that is a house on the side of a cliff. I saw another picture that shows the inside, and it's beautiful. It's very modern. It's about 4 stories high. It has an elevator on the inside. It's beautiful. It overlooks water, a whole ocean. It's gorgeous. Now, if a TI lived there, the perpetrators will start building all around that cliff. Okay? So you would not be alone for very long. Before they built the houses, every time you left, you see that little car parked there? Every time that car leaves, if that were your car, they'd be waiting for you somewhere very nearby. Okay? So my point is, don't keep running. Okay? Pray and ask God for courage to get you through what you need to go through. Get together with other TIs and get politically active so that we can get this to stop. Fight for your way out of this. And that's going to make you stronger. The bottom line is, if you're on whatever list, watch list, terrorist list, whatever list they have innocent people on, their plan is to target you no matter where you go. I know people who have gone to other countries, from the U.S. to another country, and they're still targeted. They say it'll take a week or so, and then they set up shop and it starts all over again. One person on one of her videos, she's in another country. She left the U.S. and she went to another country. And she says the only thing that makes it a little better where she is now is that she doesn't know what the people are saying because they don't speak the same language. She speaks English. They speak another language. And so she really doesn't know if they're harassing her half the time, like if they're doing direct conversation. But she said the following and the noise and all of that continues. It's still happening where she is now. And now she's many miles away from her family, the support that she had. So don't let these people, for this person talking about moving to the mountains, I mean, I have heard that certain situations, if you're getting the direct energy, I have heard people say that they get relief in the mountains. But don't let these people further isolate you, because isolation is one of their main goals. One of the main things they do to a TI is to put them in isolation. The lady that I knew that I spoke about who went to the mountains, I felt bad for her because she went to the mountains to sleep in her car. Do you know how dangerous that is? And I know which mountains she went to because it's not far from here. It's very dark up there. I remember getting lost up there before because we were coming from somewhere and we got lost. And you couldn't see 1 foot in front of you. It was so dark up there at night. And it took us hours to find the freeway, like 2 or 3 hours just to find the freeway. Cell phones weren't working up there because of the altitude, because it was so high up. So, I don't know if you're a male or a female who asked that question, and it really doesn't matter because men are just as much at risk as a female is, especially when we're targeted. But really think about that. And I'm not saying that you're going to live in your car because I don't know you, but I know the person that I knew, she slept in her car. And not even necessarily because she wanted to, but because of her circumstances, with being targeted, and how, a lot of people lose everything. So that was more of her situation. But also she wanted to go there because of her electronic harassment. But it's dangerous. The mountains can be dangerous. Now, I don't know if they have apartments up there because all I saw was long roads, and you could just see the beginning of the road, and you'd have to drive down the road to actually see, the houses or apartments or whatever was down there. So I don't know what was down these roads. But I would just say be very careful with those mountainous areas because they just didn't look cool to me. But that's me. Hopefully, if you go, you'll have someone with you. And you'll be very safe. I really pray that you'll be very safe. But, pray. Stand up for yourself always. Learn to stand your ground. You're going to have to stand your ground because I think you just might find out, like most targets found out, that the targeting follows you. The targeting, it follows you. Because when they have you pegged to be targeted, that's just what it is, unfortunately. But I believe God, and I know that we can get this changed if we all come together. So no matter where you decide to live or if you decide to stay where you are, learn to stand up for yourself. Okay? I hope this video helps someone. God bless and stay strong.